Next on HBO, two alienated teenagers fight their way back into the society that shut them out. Matt Dillon and Vincent Spano star in Over the Edge. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Can a man be zapped into the future and be put on sale to the highest bidder? Emilio Estevez, Mick Jagger, and Anthony Hopkins. Free Jack. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. He's ready to rock the house. One of America's hottest comedy stars returns to HBO with his own brand of talk, The Chris Rock Show. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. When your father ends up murdered, following in his footsteps may not necessarily be the best idea. Leslie Hope and Andrew Laurie, The Conspiracy of Fear. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Steven Seagal and Keenan Ivory Wayans are cops hot on the trail of a serial killer, but they've got suspicions that there's more to it. The Glimmer Man. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. He's a detective following a trail of corruption, scandal, and murder that leads straight to the Oval Office. Wesley Snipes, Murder at 1600. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Get ready to laugh with one of stand-up's hottest new talents, the HBO Comedy Half Hour, Kathleen Madigan. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. He was only one man who used his powers for good and evil. He pushed a nation into revolution. The HBO original movie, Rasputin. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the oil fields, the worms are back. Fred Ward, Helen Shaver, Tremors 2, Aftershocks. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. The Oscar-winning epic about Scotsman William Wallace, a man of courage who fought for freedom. Mel Gibson and Sophie Marceau, Braveheart. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. The Enterprise has taken a beating, but she keeps on going. Get a behind-the-scenes look at the making of Star Trek, First Contact. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. His theory is, the hotter the topic, the harder they laugh. The HBO Comedy Hour, Steve Harvey, one man. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. These ex-presidents are running for their lives. Jack Lemmon and James Garner star in My Fellow Americans. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Gary Shandling is back behind the desk of the funniest talk show on the air. It's a brand new season of The Larry Sanders Show. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. You can never be too rich, but maybe you can be too thin. Robert John Burke, Joe Mantegna, Stephen King's Thinner. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Wild Times with a bad boy of the airwaves. He's the king of all media. Howard Stern and Robin Quivers. Private Parts. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. They stalk, they terrorize, they kill with no mercy. Their prey is man. Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer star in The Ghost and the Darkness. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Gary Shandling is back behind the desk of the funniest talk show on the air. It's a brand new season of The Larry Sanders Show. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. The host replacement rumors are flying, so tune in to see who's sitting behind the desk this week. The Larry Sanders Show. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Keanu Reeves is on the lam because of an experiment gone right, and everyone wants to profit from it, including Morgan Freeman. Chain Reaction. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. They killed his family, but missed him. Big mistake. Now it's payback time. Brian Bosworth, Bruce Payne, One Man's Justice. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. When film student Kevin Bacon goes out to Hollywood, he's just about to find out what really goes on behind the scenes. The big picture. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. He's a mobster with a soft spot for a pretty girl on the make. Tony Danza, Michael Madsen, and Amy Locane. The girl gets mauled. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. A new movie every Saturday night. The dark secrets of a sunny city come to light. Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, and Kevin Spacey. LA Confidential. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. A Friday world premiere movie. Get your kicks on Route 66, but take this highway for something far more fiendish. Kyle MacLachlan, Route 9. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. This film takes you into the secret society of pimps. The men behind the girls on the street. America Undercover. Pimps up, hose down. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. The reigning king of comedy is back and ready to rock your world in its third critically acclaimed season, The Chris Rock Show. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Gary Shandling is back behind the desk of the funniest talk show on the air, The Larry Sanders Show. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Explore the lives of the great women and great men who were leaders of their time. Animated hero classics. Pocahontas. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. They're broad-shouldered, they're well-tailored, they wear shades, and they mean business. Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, Men in Black. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. A lonely woman agrees to the sexual whims of a handsome stranger until she finds out what he's really after. Erica Anderson, Object of Obsession. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. He had a choice, break rocks or sort mail. So how'd he end up a fairy godfather? Greg Kinnear and Laurie Metcalf. Dear God. Next. Next on HBO. Susan Sarandon is a frustrated wife who learns that you can't take it with you. Stephen Dorff co-stars in the HBO original movie, Earthly Possessions. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Three women are after fool's gold as they each stake a claim to one man's money. Halle Berry, Why Do Fools Fall in Love? Next on HBO. Next on HBO. An older woman, a younger man. Things are getting steamy in the tropics. Angela Bassett and Whoopi Goldberg star in How Stella Got Her Groove Back. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Want to see how a house becomes haunted? Join Liam Neeson, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Lily Taylor. HBO First Look, The Haunting. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Heaven and hell collide on Earth, and human souls are forced to pay the price in this evil animated universe. Todd McFarlane's Spawn. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Mob Life. If you're not worrying about songbirds, it's the business of the kids or the wife. The story of a gangster family singing the blues. The Sopranos. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. A gripping documentary that takes you down the dark path and inside the lives of street prostitutes. Hookers at the point. Going out again. Next on HBO. Next on HBO.
How does a family react when the warmth that once cherished turns cold? Kevin Kline, Joan Allen, and Sigourney Weaver brave the ice storm.
Next on HBO. Next on HBO.
A brutal look at people who ride the horse to a world of misery. Black tar heroin, the dark end of the street, America undercover.
Next on HBO. Next on HBO. A simple game of cat and mouse becomes strategic side-splitting warfare between man and rodent. Nathan Lane and Lee Evans. Mouse Hunt. Next on HBO. Next on HBO. Ah, summer. The season for renting that little home away from home. John Candy and Richard Crenna star in Summer Rental. Next on HBO.